My name is Eric. This is a short video demonstrating the TinyBootstrap process. Through the TinyBootstrap process, you can create tiny Smalltalk images which can be run from the Pharo Smalltalk virtual machine. It allows to create both 64 as 32-bit images. In this video, I'm going to create a dynamic image, one of the example images within TinyBootstrap. It allows code from a regular Pharo 10 image to be installed and executed within the image, in a tiny image. All example and documentation can be found on GitHub at github.com/ericonbike. So let's first install the TinyBootstrap code. I'm installing it in a directory called TinyTools. Now I'm going to create the dynamic image from the examples. Starting the TinyBootstrap process, I have to specify what kind of image I want. I want a 64-bit image. The source code is available in the dynamic source directory, and the target I want to create is called dynamic.image, the name of the image file. And lastly, I'm going to specify what code to be executed to start the image. In this case, there's a class called TinyDynamic, and it has a doIt method. I want that executed once the image starts. Creating a tiny image the first time takes a couple of minutes, at least on my laptop. Running it again will only perform the last step, the bootstrap process for the tiny image, so that it will be a lot faster. There's a dynamic.image file, which is currently just below 300 kilobytes. That's the size you can expect for a tiny image on a 64-bit system. 32 bits are often a bit smaller. We can run this image to see that it works by calling the installed class TinyDynamic with and the class method 1. It will write out a message 1 is executed. Likewise, there's a 2 which can be executed. And if we request it to perform X, Y, Z, it will say it doesn't know that message, like regular code. So now I'm switching to the left-hand side, and here I have a regular Pharo 10 image. I loaded the TinyTools code from GitHub into this image. This gives me 3 extra classes in this image. The TinyDynamic, which is just a placeholder, so we can easily install class-side methods. The TinyInspector, which allows to show information inside the dynamic image. And an object encoder, which does the work of serializing classes and methods, which then can be installed into the dynamic image. So we can start with this object and the inspector, and use the object encoder to write the code for that class into a file. And we write this file to the TinyTools directory I've just created, and it's called the inspector.code as file name. If I execute this code and go back, I find it here. There's a file with just below 2 kilobytes, which has this class TinyInspector. I can install and run this in the dynamic image. So I'm going to start the Pharo virtual machine on the dynamic image, and I'm going to say install the inspector.code, and I want to execute the TT inspector class and the class side method show classes. If I run it, it will show all classes in the current dynamic image. There's also a method called show classes and methods, which will do the same, only it will also show all the available methods. This is a way to easily interrogate the image to see what have you installed already and what not. Alright, back to the Pharo image. I can also write a single method to a file. So currently I'm writing the test1 method from the TT dynamic, a class side method which just also prints out a little statement saying running test1. I'm going to write this to a file, and I can similarly run the dynamic image again, installing the test1.code I just created, and then asking the TT dynamic class to perform the test1 class method. And if I run that, it'll say running test1. If I'm running it again, but this time without putting the install code there, it will give me a message not understood, because although I did install it in the image, I didn't make it permanent. I have to add the save option if I want to install it in the image and keep it. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to say install the test image, and I'm going to add min save minus save to install it and keep it permanent. It will run the code again. That's what I requested, but it will also save it. I could have skipped the part of running it just to have the effect of installing the code and saving it. If I now try to run it without installing, it will know this method. If I want to change the method, I can go back to the regular Smalltalk image. I can create code again, and I can install this code and run it, and see that it has changed the methods. So methods can be overwritten just like regular code. Okay. All right. What to show more? There's one extra option which could be interesting. You can fuse an image, meaning you can remove any of the dynamic loading of code and just keep one method, which is your execution method. In this case, if we want this test1 method as our main method, which should be run on every execution of the application, we can in this case first save the image as we want it. So I'm going to install the latest test1 method and save that. And now I'm going to say, okay, I want to fuse the image. I'm going to say minus fuse, and the code I want to execute when the image is fused is that I want to execute the TT dynamic test1. So it will also always keep that. If I try to run the dynamic image with the inspector, it won't work. It will immediately start to run the test because I've fused it. So the installation code is no longer available. So this way we can sort of fixate the dynamic image for a single use. All right, that's it for now, I think. By the way, if you want to have a look at one of those fixated images, you can also use the Polyphemus tool from Pierre. He's called Hogo Online. Check it out, it's really nice work as well. All right, bye-bye.